Welcome to North Hempstead's Go Green TV, where we uncover simple steps to live more sustainably. This episode, Plant a Native for the Planet, will focus on native plants, their benefits, types, and how to plant and maintain them. I'm Veronica Lurvey, Councilwoman of District 4, and I'm here to lead you into the world of native plants. My journey with gardening began with my grandfather. He owned a nursery in Prague before the war. He and my mother share incredible green thumbs. We always had a vegetable or fruit garden in our backyard, but when I tried to replicate their garden, I was not able to keep up with the maintenance. So this is when I started learning about native plant gardens. I thought to myself, why am I not planting plants that belong to the area? I visited the native gardens right here in Jerry Park, and I saw some of my neighbors had planted native plants, which inspired me to start my own version at home. Wasn't long before I bought my first plants and I really got to work. I discovered that by working with nature, you find yourself in a win-win situation. It's more beautiful, it's beneficial to wildlife, it's less work in the end, and it's less stress on our natural resources. On top of it all, it's less costly to maintain. So I'm here to tell you from experience, you don't have to be a professional to do this. Each year you will learn new things and build a living relationship with your garden. You can expect that there will be setbacks and surprises. Through all of it though, you will have a great time and do something great for the planet. So sometimes I get asked, why native plants? Well, native plants are those that have historically lived in our geographic area, so they can tolerate our climate, our weather, and our soil. They have three main benefits, such as an extensive root system that absorbs water pollution and is able to store carbon dioxide. They require less maintenance, and you don't have to remember to water them as often. They also provide food, shelter, and nesting resources for pollinators and other native wildlife species. I've been asked, why do I put so much emphasis on attracting pollinators? So the truth is, we really can't live without them. Native insects and hummingbirds are vital to the pollination process. They're necessary for the reproduction of ornamental plants, native plants, and even our food crops. In fact, it's said that 1 out of every 3 bites of our food depend on pollination for production. That's 1 out of every 3 bites of the food that we eat require pollinators. Many people are surprised to learn that while honeybees are important in agriculture, they're not native to the United States. They originally came from Europe, but we do have many native species of bees. Bumblebees, for example, also mining bees. We have other pollinators like butterflies, moths, hoverflies, and so many more. Sadly, many native pollinator species have been in decline over the last few decades due to habitat loss, climate change, and the use of pesticides. This is why North Hempstead promotes planting native for the planet. By establishing a native plant garden, each patch of habitat protects and preserves the natural environment for our future. Designing your own native plant garden might seem intimidating, but we can break it down into 4 easier steps. Step 1, much like humans, different plants have different needs. So it's important to analyze your site conditions. Before choosing your plants, take note of how much sun you get, what your soil moisture is, and what your soil texture is. For example, if you live in a very sunny site with dry, sandy soil, this spotted bee balm might be a great choice. If you don't take your site conditions into consideration, plants might not grow successfully. I know this from personal experience. For example, you wouldn't want to plant this maidenhair fern in a spot that's very sunny or dry because it thrives in shady, moist spots. Step 2, Assess any restrictions you may have. If you have small spaces where you don't want plants to spread out or grow too tall, you may want to plant something like wild geranium. Wild geranium only grows about 1.5 feet tall and wide and has nice pink blooms during the spring. Some other small plants include ground covers like foam flower and moss phlox. Also, if you have a small yard or maybe just a deck or a balcony, you can plant many native plants in planters and get the same benefits. If you get a lot of deer or rabbits that may eat your plants, we suggest mint plants, like this mountain mint, because they do not tend to get eaten. It is also a great plant that attracts a lot of pollinators, especially bees. It grows to about 3 feet tall and 2 feet wide. It has a long bloom time and a very fragrant, sweet mint smell. Step 3. Think about what you would want your garden to consist of and set your goals. Do you want a certain color of flowers or foliage? Well, this blazing star has showy purple blooms in the summer and gets about 3 feet tall. It attracts bees and butterflies and a variety of other pollinators. These coreopsis plants provide a pop of bright yellow with their flowers. While this common yarrow or whitewood aster have soft white flowers that contrast so nicely with their dark green foliage. Do you want shrubs and trees or just herbaceous flowers and grasses? One hardy shrub is northern bayberry, which is a larger species that has semi-evergreen leaves in the winter, and it produces berries for the birds. It can tolerate many soil and light conditions, and it's also salt tolerant. Its leaves have a nice fragrance. Another great shrub with a great name is spicebush. This is a slow-growing shrub that has small yellow flowers in early spring. It is the host plant of the spicebush swallowtail butterfly, which have snake-like caterpillars that can scare away predators. Do you want to attract butterflies? And who doesn't? Milkweeds are great options for attracting butterflies. Here at Jerry Park, we have butterfly and swamp milkweed. So milkweeds are the monarch butterfly host plant, and that means that they are the only types of plant that monarch caterpillars will eat. These plants also have a great nectar source for other butterflies and various types of pollinators. And they are beautiful as well. Butterfly milkweed is shorter at 3 feet tall, while swamp milkweed can grow to 5 feet tall. Would you like to attract hummingbirds? Hummingbirds are attracted to red tubular flowers like the beautiful columbine and the cardinal flower. Columbine is a small plant. It blooms in late spring in sun to shade conditions, while the cardinal flower needs part shade and moist soil and can grow to be a few feet tall. So now that you've analyzed your site, assessed any restrictions you might have, and set your goals, you get to the fun part. You get to choose your plants. Step 4 is choosing your plants. To help you build a unique garden catered to your goals, the town offers a detailed list of native plants and their characteristics. When choosing your plants, keep in mind the following guidelines. It's important to have a variety of plants blooming from spring to late fall. This provides pollinators resources throughout their active season. It will also make your garden visually attractive because something will always be blooming. For example, lowbush blueberry is a great spring blooming shrub, provides nectar and pollen for early emerging pollinators like bumble and mining bees. It also provides berries for you to enjoy if you can get to them before the birds. This anise hyssop blooms for a long time in the summer until early fall. It grows to about 4 feet tall and has very showy purple flower bunches. If you want to attract a lot of different types of pollinators, this is definitely the plant for you. Asters, like this aromatic aster, and goldenrods are both great fall blooming plants that provide food for pollinators later in the season, like the migrating monarch butterfly. Planting in mass is also important, which means planting a bunch of the same plant together. This will provide a stunning visual in your garden and make it much easier for pollinators to find your plants and get the resources that they need. You could see this principle was used here when planting this garden at Jerry Park. You can add grasses to provide structure for the garden. Most are also a host plant for skipper butterflies. They also provide cover for wildlife and seeds for birds to eat. This is a little blue stem, which grows to about 2 to 4 feet tall and has beautiful bluish-green leaves in the summer, reddish-bronze leaves in the fall, and in the winter, it has fluffy seed heads. Purple lovegrass has interesting purple seed heads, and it only grows to about 2 feet, making it good for small garden spaces. Keep in mind that some plants need more space, and they may very well spread out further, so it's important when you plan your site that you plan it according to the mature size of your plants. So you've planned out your garden, and now it's time to plant. To ensure your plants grow successfully, let's look at proper planting techniques. But before we get started, I want to mention that planting densely is a great way to help crowd out weeds and have a full garden. Planting each plant 12 to 18 inches apart will achieve this goal. Also, planting in the summer is discouraged since it's usually very hot and dry. Planting in the spring and fall is best, since rain is usually plentiful at these times of year and the temperatures are lower, which will allow the plants to survive. Okay, here we go. Make the planting hole 2 to 3 times as wide as the root ball. Make sure that the top of the roots are level with the existing soil. Set your plant in the soil. If you're planting a container-grown plant, it's best to break up any roots that have circled around the plant so they can grow properly when they are placed into the ground. Using the original soil when backfilling the planting holes is a good idea. You'll notice we're not using fertilizer because native plants shouldn't need fertilizers if you choose the right plants for the right site conditions. Fertilizers can be harmful to the environment, so it's best if we can avoid using them. Make sure to water thoroughly at the time of planting to establish the root system. Mulching right after planting can help the soil retain moisture while also combating weeds while the plants are spreading out. The establishment of native plant root systems can take about a year, so they should be watered regularly over the first growing season, especially during long periods of time without water. If there's a high amount of rainfall, then they don't need to be watered as much or at all. Native plants usually don't require watering after the first year unless there is a drought. It's also important that the gardens are weeded regularly for the first growing season. Native plants need time to grow, and if they're crowded or shaded out by weeds, then they may become unhealthy or die. Mulch is helpful with this as well. Once plants become larger and they spread, the weeds won't be as much of an issue, and even if they are, they won't be as noticeable since you'll have a dense planting. You can hand weed or use a cultivator or other tools to remove weeds, but no pesticides should be used on native plant gardens. Native plants provide habitat for pollinators, and pesticides, including insecticides, herbicides, and fungicides, can all harm and even kill them. Pesticides really aren't needed because many native plants are resistant to native pests and can take damage without killing the plant. Native plants also attract good predatory insects like lady beetles, lacewings, and hoverfly larvae. And they even attract birds that may be able to take care of the pests for you. And now to talk more about the use of pesticides is town horticulturalist Bonnie Klein.
Hello, Town of North Hempstead. I'm here to discuss pesticides usage in and around your home. First, it is recommended not to use pesticides, which include insecticides and herbicides, unless it is absolutely necessary and that you have exhausted all other methods. Always identify your pest first and know the life cycle, whether it's an insect or a weed. You can plant weed suppressive ground covers, including native phlox, butterfly weed, and euchera. And also mulch also helps to suppress weeds. If you have weeds and must use the pesticide, please use the lowest impact herbicide or pesticide and make sure not to apply it during the day. Very early morning or night is best to avoid harming our bees and other pollinators. So low-impact pesticides include insecticidal soaps and horticultural oils. And remember always to read the label and apply according to the label. So please, use cultural methods first before even considering using a pesticide.
If the plants that you choose for your garden include perennials, it's important to know what to do when these plants become dormant in the fall and winter months. Dead plant stalks can still provide a nice aesthetic and benefits to wildlife, like providing seeds for birds. Therefore, it's best to leave plant stems up until at least April of the next year and not cut back in the fall. Sometimes doing nothing is the best solution. You can wait until temperatures reach about 50 degrees Fahrenheit for an extended period so that you don't disturb any overwintering insects. Now I will tell you how to make your fall cleanups even easier. You should leave your leaves in your garden beds. Leaves can act as a natural mulch, and as they break down, they provide nutrients to the soil. They can also provide overwintering habitat for insects like butterflies and bees. Now you have a genuine excuse to not rake the leaves in your garden. When you plant for the planet, less is more. Your garden will need watering and weeding the first year, but once your plants start growing and become established, maintenance becomes a breeze. When you start planting native for the planet and designing your native garden, think of the process as an experiment. I urge you to have fun with it and take it slow. I hope you enjoyed learning about native plants, pollinators, and the beautiful gardens here at Gerry Park. For more information on all these topics and more, visit northhempsteadny.gov/sustainability.